Sixth grade. Welcome back to science class. We're going to start working our way through all the different body systems now that we're going to study this year. We got introduced to the number of systems in yesterday's lesson. The big takeaway from yesterday's lesson is from cells, common cells form tissue, tissues form organs, organs form organ systems, and your organ systems makes up you as a human being, the organism. So now we're going to start going through individual body systems. The first one we're going to start with today is called the skeletal system. The overall question is, what systems help move body parts? Your skeletal system provides support, protects organs, makes new red cells, and stores important information. Its 206 bones work with skeletal muscles to allow your body to move. So answering your questions, you have a skeletal system. We'll talk about that today. You also have a muscle system. We'll talk about that one tomorrow. 206 bones in the adult body. A baby is born with more bones. We'll learn over here that some of those bones form together and form one bone in an adult. Let's get started. It says when you look at a bone like the one in this picture, you might think that it's dead, but the bones of your body are very much alive. So number one, guys, these are living things. Bones are made of living tissues as well as non-living minerals. Okay, so living tissues, obviously we have things going on in our body. Non-living, guys, isn't the same as dead. Dead was you were once alive and now you died. Non-living says you were never a living thing. So we have minerals in our bones, calcium, phosphorus, things like that, that are not living things, okay? They're deposited by bone cells. Blood flows through every part of the bone. So you have living tissue and non-living minerals, and blood flows through the parts of the bone. So lots of times, guys, we think of these bones that we might find out in the woods from a dead animal, or the bones my dog eats kind of thing, and they look like these white chunks of bone and that's it. Never understanding how alive they really are. Okay? I'm going to keep reading here in our notes to go in order, and then we'll go back and we'll understand the pictures. When you were a baby, some of your bones were made of a flexible material called cartilage. Much of the cartilage then is replaced by hard bone as the person ages. But you still have cartilage. Move the tip of your nose or the top of your ears. The flexible tissue in those places is cartilage. Bones and cartilage make up your skeletal system. So flexible material is called cartilage, guys, and I just wrote down 2 places in your body that has it still. If any of you have ever been around when you had a baby brother or sister born, the top of their head has what they call a soft spot. This is a great example of babies being born and then over time bones and cartilage harden into forming bones. So God in His wisdom said, if I want a baby to be born and pass through mom, those bones literally need to be flexible and move. So if you're old enough and you just had a little brother or sister when mom gave birth, right when the child's born, the head is actually a little bit more cone-shaped, and then it moves back to what it is now, and it hardens for that. So that's why the number of bones change, and because cartilage is hardening and bones are fusing together. Okay, bones have several functions. Step 1, they support your body and give you height. Step 2, bones like the skull, the rib cage, and the back protect important organs. Step 3, some bones form new blood cells. Step 4, bones also store minerals such as calcium and phosphorus. Small amounts of the stored minerals are released when the body needs them. These same minerals make bones hard and strong. Okay, so I want you to think about calcium and phosphorus. They're in your body right now. When you have too much of it, you store it in your bones. They help make your body hard and strong, your bones hard and strong. Now, my body is constantly using up calcium, so it says, give me calcium. And your body says, fine, you can take it out of the bones. As you start to pull the calcium out of the bones, then your bones will slowly get weaker. And so please understand how this is going. We'll talk about tomorrow how to keep our skeletal system healthy as we talk about some of the diseases that are there. All right, now let's talk about the parts of the bone. That comes off the picture over here. Number 1, we have a thin, tough outer covering of the surface of the bone that is made of living tissue. So I just gave you that statement. Number 2, blood vessels in the bone carry blood which supplies the material the bone cells need. So we're going to bring everything in through blood It also removes waste, for your notes, that the cell produces. So guys, in a couple chapters we'll learn how our body is constantly taking oxygen and using that to release the energy in cellular respiration. What happens at the cellular level to make anything happen? It's going to produce carbon dioxide that we need to get out of the cell. That's carbon dioxide gets out of the cells, even in your bones, and gets into your bloodstream. So we have to have blood going throughout all the cells of your bone. C, we have what's called compact bone. Compact bone is the hardest, that's for your notes, it's the hardest material in the human body, except for tooth enamel. It is made up of tiny tubes. This structure is very strong. Okay, so you can see the compact bone pictured here on the outside, guys. There are what makes your bones strong. Now, it's not solid, guys. You can see this hollow thing. That takes us down to letter D down here. Spongy bone tissue makes your bones lightweight. It's the thickest near the joints. And so God in his wisdom said, I'm not going to take a bone and make it solid compact, because would that be really strong? You bet. Would it be really hard to break it? Yes. Would you weigh too much? Yes, you would weigh too much. That would stretch your muscles too much to be able to move you. So he wants bones to be strong, but he also needs them to be lightweight. And so God in his genius says, I'm going to make them both. Super strong outside, lightweight inside, perfect combination. Inside the spongy bone system, in the middle of the bone, red marrow in the spongy bone is of a long arm and leg bones, makes new red blood cells. Yellow marrow in the center cavity of the long bones store fat. So guys, number one, this is not true of all bones. It's mainly the big bones in your body. So your upper arm, your upper leg, that's what they're talking about there. That is where the majority of your new blood cells are made. And it also stores fat for you in your bones that you need. So fill it in your notes. Red makes new red blood cells, and yellow marrow makes stores fat. Okay, so every once in a while, if you have heard it, you might hear of they need a red bone marrow transplant. There are a number of diseases. We're going to talk about a few of them later on when we talk about the circulatory system. But one example is sickle cell. Sickle cell is your red blood cells aren't shaped the way they're supposed to, and so they can't carry the amount of oxygen that you normally need. So a person who suffers from sickle cell can't really do major exercises because they just don't get enough oxygen in their body to be able to breathe heavy and fast enough to keep them going. So now there's a few things that person can do who has sickle cell. They could, number one, get a blood transplant, like we talked about yesterday, where you donate your blood. Okay, that's great, but eventually all that blood that gets donated to you is going to die inside the body. So when we first get a donation, great, you got red blood cells that can carry oxygen like normal, but eventually those cells are going to die. If I never want to struggle with that disease again, what I need is a bone marrow transplant. So what they do is they drill into your bone, they pull out some of this red marrow from letter E in here, and they inject it in the person who suffers from sickle cell, and then that red marrow makes healthy blood. And so you'll constantly have enough healthy blood running through your body. It's one of the ways that we can fight certain blood type diseases in these bones. You and I who have normal blood don't have to think or don't have to worry about that stuff, and we're constantly replacing new blood through our big bones. Okay, living bone cells are found in tiny spaces in compact bone. They secrete minerals and other materials that harden to form bones. So just the living bone part of it, how it keeps it healthy. Two more pictures here. Number one, calcium in the bony material that make up much of your body's long bones help make the bones hard and heavy. The network of spaces in this normal bone below helps make your bones lighter. So guys, you can see a magnification of a bone, and they're saying the calcium in the bones would be hard, we need them to be strong, but it would also be heavy if it was solid. So we create spaces, God in his wisdom, spaces, so they stay lightweight as well. Okay, as people grow older, they lose calcium in their bones. The result can be seen in this bone below. This is the bone of a person who has the disease called osteoporosis. We'll talk about it today, we'll talk about it again tomorrow. Bones that are weakened like this can easily break. So down here, osteoporosis is a disease with weakened bones. It happens as you get older, guys. So you can see right here how not as big of gaps, way more gaps, and way more gaps even in the bones, guys. So you can see how the bones, we might use the word brittle, look like they're getting soft, and so they can break really easily. That's why a lot of times older people will suffer, fall, and get a broken bone. You'll hear a lot of people, older people, that fell and broke their hip. Now that's not too common with us. Think of my times at recess in your lifetime. You've fallen at recess and you've never broken your hip from that. Why? Your bones are still strong and healthy. Elderly people's are weakening down. We'll talk tomorrow then the importance of making sure you start while you're young so that this disease doesn't get you. Okay, we're going to end with this blue over here. A joint is a place where two bones meet. So you got that one. Flexible cartilage covers and protects the ends of the bones of joints. The shape of the cartilage surfaces and the way they fit together determine the direction a joint can move. Strong cords of tissue called ligaments connect the bones to each joint. So I told you a ligament connects bone to bone. Those of you who play sports, you might hear a person gets injured and tore his ACL. That's a ligament in your knee. It's called the anterior cruciate ligament. You have an ICL, the interior cruciate ligament. In other words, you have strong bands that literally run from this bone to this bone and all over it, wrapping it around there, guys, so it can hold your leg together and allow it to move. Obviously, bones by themselves would just fall apart. So you have to attach bone to bone. So what they're saying is at the end of a joint, guys, this is cartilage. And the way it's shaped and the ligaments that hold it together allow the different movements. There's more than 3 types of joints, guys. They're just giving you 3 types. The first type is the ball and socket. The shoulder has this. The shoulder joint allows the arm to swing freely in a circle. This type of movement allows this type of joint allows the most movement. So you get the most movement out of a ball and socket. You have a similar one in your hip. Now, you think about your arm, you can spin your arm in a complete circle. You can't do that in your hip, guys, for a number of reasons. You have a pelvic bone that extends past it, kind of like the shoulder blade here. But you also have ligaments and muscles that hold it in place where in your shoulder you can swing it freely. You have a hinge bone. This is in your knee joint. It hinges like a door. It allows you to open and close a door. It allows you to bend and straighten, so forward and back in your knee. Okay? You also have a pivot joint. A pivot joint in your elbow allows bones to rotate around one another. This allows your arms to twist some. And so, guys, lots of times when we think about twisting, and if I'm trying to twist my arm right now, I'm going, what am I talking about? I'm twisting my wrist. I'm not twisting my arm. Well, it's actually happening way up at that elbow joint, guys, okay? Your fingers have different types of joints, your thumbs, your neck. There's all kinds of different joints out there, guys, to allow all the different movement God in His infinite wisdom gave. And so we want to try to protect our joints. Tomorrow we'll talk about one of the diseases that hit us if we don't take care of our joints. Okay, you got through body system number 1, the skeletal system. We'll get through muscles tomorrow, and then you'll get your assignments. So today, just the fill in the blanks. Have a great one.